All right, we're getting into the next section 4. We're going to learn about rhombuses, rectangles, and squares. Do you guys remember what a rhombus is? Could be. What's a rhombus? Ah, sure, we can read it, can't? At least we know she can read. All right. It's kind of like a square. It's 4 congruent sides, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's square. It doesn't mean that all 4 angles are equal to each other. All right? It is a parallelogram. So if I drew a shape like this and I said this side equals this side equals this side equals this side, regardless of what my angles are, this is a rhombus.
What if they're all 90?
Is a square a rhombus?
Yeah.
Yes. But is a rhombus a square? No. Okay. Silly boy. Okay. So, can a rectangle be a rhombus?
Yes, it can.
What's the definition of a rectangle? A parallelogram with 4 congruent angles. These angles are all right angles. Can it be a rhombus? No, it doesn't. It doesn't have congruent sides. Can a rectangle be a square? Yeah. So if you take a look at this circles down here, is that in there good enough? Look at this right here. This puts it together for you. We got rhombuses can be a square, but a square can't be a rhombus, okay? A rectangle can be a square, but a square can't be a rectangle. So we kind of, if we want to put it together, then we know that rhombuses and rectangles can be squares, but we can't go back the other way. All right? Are we good with that? Obviously, hey? Here comes the calendar. I hate it when my finger hits that. Okay. Rhombus. Diagonals are perpendicular to each other. What does that mean? If I make a rhombus here where I say each of these sides are equal and I draw my diagonals between it, I hate it when that happens. I draw my diagonals here. These are perpendicular. Are diagonals perpendicular on a square? No. Yes. Remember, a square can be a rhombus. All right? So, on squares and rhombuses, my diagonals are always perpendicular. The way to look at that is if all 4 of my sides are congruent, my diagonals will always be perpendicular. No matter what. If I have a square and I put my diagonals in here, these are perpendicular. All right? If all 4 sides are congruent, my diagonals are always perpendicular. Next one. Oh, rectangles. They're congruent. Okay, if I drew a rectangle, all right, and I drew my diagonals, those diagonals are congruent. This whole diagonal right here is congruent to this whole diagonal right here. That means, and remember, diagonals bisect, right? On a parallelogram. So this side equals this side equals this side equals this side. It's a crazy little diagram. All right? It means this whole diagonal here, Cade, is equal to this diagonal here. This is on a rectangle. Rectangles have 4 90-degree angles, correct? Opposite sides are congruent. And our diagonals are congruent. On squares, the diagonals are perpendicular. We already went over that. The diagonals bisect a pair of opposite angles. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, we have a square. Each one of these are 90 degrees. And if I draw my diagonal through here, this bisects it. That angle. So this is 45 degrees. This is 45. Each one of these are 45. So if I see something like this, and I know that this is 45 and this is 45, what's my angle here? Oh, come on. Really? 90. Why? Because diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular. Damien's like, okay, I'm not sure. Yeah, there you go. Deer in the headlights. All right. All right, you have 4 problems here to work on. And then on the next page. List the quadrilaterals that have the given property. Choose among parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, or square. Opposite angles are supplementary. Which one of these can you say? Can you say opposite angles are supplementary? And you have to figure that out for each one of these. Okay? So, I mean, there could be multiple. Parallelogram, it could be rectangle and square, and there could be multiples for each one of those. All right. This should be pretty easy. It's the same thing as what we've worked off before. All right. If I know that my 2 angles intersect on a rhombus, right? I know that this angle here is what? This angle here is what? 90 degrees, right? That means this is 90 degrees. If this is 90 degrees and we got 48 degrees here, then what's this? 42 degrees. All right? So we can start figuring out all our angles based off that. You can work on 9 and 10 with that. Let's get down to 11, 12. We've got rectangles here. We should be able to figure out what our rectangles are at by knowing, let's see, determine the measure of number of angles. They even give you a measurement here. Looks like a rectangle, so we know this is 90 degrees, right? I'll let you guys work on that one. All right, and the bottom one is, yep, bottom 6 are just figuring out. So I would draw what they want a rectangle, draw a rectangle, I would label it, and then figure them out.